My name is Alejandra Espinosa. I serve as a Director of Campus Staff and Student Learning here at MJC, and we make the most of the college experience for all of our students, and I see a few of my students here, so thank you for being here as well. So Campus Life provides opportunities for student leadership beyond the classroom and enhances the college experience through leadership development, service learning, and extracurricular activities. And our vision here in Campus Life is to have a campus life full of school spirit and student engagement. And I want to share our core values with you guys tonight. And those are diversity, empowerment, equity, inclusivity, leadership, and student development. So Campus Life intentionally brings events and activities with this vision and values in mind. So tonight are for our Positive People Speaker Series. What is that? And so it's a series of that showcases amazing local talents that have persevered, endured, and faced life challenges in pursuit of achieving dreams. These stories are to inspire and motivate our students, families, and community. Tonight, we're here to listen to one of our very own. Her name is Nicole Eddlemon. And so before I have her come to the stage, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about her. So Nicole was born with a rare cancerous brain tumor. Against all odds, she not only faced this challenge, but also triumphed over it, becoming a beacon of hope for countless of others. This transformative journey inspired her to write a best-selling book in both the US and Canada, offering inspiration and resilience to those navigating their own battles. She is deeply passionate about encouraging and empowering students to recognize their boundless potential, believing that challenges can be bridges to uncover our inner greatness. Now, as a program specialist here at MJC, she continuously ignites the potential within every student. With a unique ability to connect, Nicole uplifts and inspires everyone she encounters. She embodies a reminder that while life's challenges might shape our paths, they need to determine our own destination. So please help me welcome to the stage, Nicole Eddlemon.
Thank you so much. All right, everybody. Before we dive in, I want to plant a little bit of a seed of a question, okay? So think about this for a second. If you could do, be, or have anything that you wanted in this life without fearing judgment, without thinking about location, without thinking about how much it would cost, what would that be? Now, this is a tough question, right? So if you don't arrive at the answer in a few days, a few weeks, even months, trust and believe that your answer will surpass the soil to the surface when it is the perfect timing for you to know that answer. All right, guys, so here I am. My name is Nicole, and I am a program specialist in the best department. I'm biased. The best department, the Career Center, which I am completely passionate about, 100%. And I am also a cancer survivor. So let's get into it. Alright guys, so as we mentioned, our challenges, absolutely, whether we know it or not, will and can shape us. But it is the resilience that we are defined by. So we are starting off with these challenges, okay? So my story starts on July 6, 1985. I was born pretty healthy, or so we thought, right? Normal baby. But the perfection of my 10 fingers and my 10 toes could not remedy or soothe away the constant crying that happened the days, the weeks, the months after my birth. And so my mom took me to the doctor over and over and over again and was met with, she's fine, there's nothing wrong with her. But those of you out there who are mothers and parents, you understand that when something doesn't feel right about your child, you listen, right? So it got to a point where, in my view, time passed and passed and passed. When I started walking, that was a pivotal point. Although I continued to have these crying episodes, you could really, really notice something was beyond wrong when I started to walk. I was walking on my tippy toes, which we've all seen that. You know, children walk on their tippy toes, not a big indication that anything is wrong. But I started to raise my arm, and I would walk like this, my arm parallel to the floor. And I would drag my leg, my foot. And so at that point, my aunt was like, look, we need to get a second opinion. There's absolutely something going on with Nicole. So there was an appointment made. I went to see the pediatrician that my cousin saw. I had a cousin, or I do have a cousin, I should say, who is 5 years older than me. He is my bodyguard. He always looks after me and makes sure that I'm okay and I'm happy and healthy. So we go into this doctor's appointment. Everything was checking out until the doctor shone a light in my eyes. And a lot of people have said, I've heard it many times before, that our eyes are the windows to our soul. Right? How many of you have heard that? Maybe. Yeah, a lot of us, right? And so, just then, they saw it. They saw what looked like a tumor behind my eyes. Okay? And before that, I forgot to mention, I did have a diagnosis, but it was a misdiagnosis of colic. And so that's why it did take so long to get a second diagnosis or a second opinion. So instantly when the doctor saw that there was something behind my eyes, an MRI was scheduled immediately. And they noticed after they received the results, there was this mass. This mass was at the base of my brain. And it had these like finger-like tentacles that were all over my brain and intertwined inside the tissues of my brain. Also intertwining down my spine. And so that's why I have a tree up here. Because when I think of the tumor that I had, this is what I think of. Branches growing up to the sky, and all of these roots intertwining, going down into the ground. And so I had to have a biopsy, right? They had to determine if it was cancerous or not, or if it was just a mass. A grueling 18-hour surgery. Mind you, I was only 18 months old. 18 hours. And when they got in there, it was inoperable. But all they could do was to get enough of this tumor to be able to biopsy it. So that meant removing a good majority of my vertebrae. I don't have any vertebrae back here. And I left my neck very, very weak. So, when I was looking back at my medical records, the surgeon indicated that there was no way that they could even remotely remove the cancer from my brain because it was so enveloped in the tissue. It was everywhere. And then I was diagnosed with an astrocytoma at 18 months. They told my family it is inoperable. Because of the type of tumor it is, the type of cancer, it will not respond to chemo. And your only option is radiation. But regardless, your daughter has 3 months to a year to live. And after the surgery too, they had indicated she's not going to walk after this, if she even lives through this. And after, the surgeon told my mom, basically, put Nicole on a pillow and take her home, insinuating it's only a matter of time. And so I went through the radiation, the maximum amount of radiation. To this day, I still have to be careful having x-rays and an MRI because the amount and the level of radiation that I had, it can be dangerous. And it had a lot of effects that I'm still, dealing with today, but it's nothing compared to what I went through. So now it's just kind of just an annoying thing to deal with, right? And so they told me, again, that they told my mom and my family that I had 3 months to a year to live. And moving forward, when I was doing research, this type of cancer, children don't get. It's 20 to 40-year-olds that get this type of cancer, and after the prognosis, they are given 7 years to live at most. So the doctor said, she is the second person documented ever to have gotten this type of cancer, and now the only person who has lived from it. And so, although the treatment didn't work, it didn't shrink my tumor at all, I am still here today talking to all of you. So here's a nice little picture of me. Now, because they had to remove all of the vertebrae, again, it made my neck really, really weak. My neck started to grow forward with the heaviness of my head. And so I had to go see a prosthetic doctor to create this brace that you see me wearing. And it went from my chin, as you can see, all the way down to my waist, hard on the outside, plastic, and tucked me inside of this brace with the Velcro straps, right? I had to wear it all the time. And it came with a lot of struggles. So not only at this point had I surpassed the prognosis, the prescription given to me, saying that I only had maybe a year to live, now I was faced with more struggles. And when it came time for me to enter into kindergarten, my mom had to put up a real fight because the school district at the time saw me as a liability. And though we won the fight, I was able to go into kindergarten at a public school, thankfully. I saw and I experienced that school really emphasized my differences. I walked into class and I saw all of these students, all of these little kids that didn't look like me. I was the only one that had to wear this brace. And as we know, kids aren't always the nicest. They're very honest, and that's okay. But it affected me to my core. For years, it affected my worthiness. It affected so many aspects of who I was and am today, right? And it made me feel very, very isolated. I wanted to hide. And going through elementary school, and I had to wear this brace because it was Velcro, it was adjustable, okay? So I had to wear it all the way up until right before high school. And going into elementary school though, the school district told me, you're not allowed to run on campus. You're not allowed to play on the playground equipment. You're not allowed to participate in PE, but you're gonna watch. So I got to see all of, the other students laughing and running and playing, but I didn't get to do any of it. I've never had a day of PE in my life. But please believe today, I lift weights. And so that really, really shaped me. It really made me feel completely different and isolated, and I just wanted to hide. I just wanted to be like everybody else. I just wanted to fit in. And then as I grew older, I realized we have to embrace who we are, our uniqueness. Because what do we have to offer if we're all the same? Conformity, right? And I have a story to share with this. A few years ago, I was with my son and we were driving. We were at a stoplight, and to the right, there was this business, and there was a gardener. They were mowing and doing all the things of this business, taking care of the property, and it was springtime. And my son looks over, and he's like, Mom, why are they trimming off all of the flowers off the bushes? And it stopped me, and I was like, that is so profound, because it made me think, these bushes wait for spring every year to bloom and share their beauty with the world. Their uniqueness is what makes them stand out among all the other shrubbery and bushes and trees and so forth. And here the gardener is teaching them all to look the same, just like the next bush. How often do we do that to ourselves? How often do we hide? How often do we want to conform and be like everybody else? We hide away our skills and our abilities and our talents. Why? Because same is safe, right? So here's a little bit more for you. We have over 70,000 thoughts per day. 98% of them are on repeat every single day. So what are we telling ourselves? What are we allowing in? Maybe that other people are telling us. These are some of the things that I would tell myself before I was aware that I was limited. I wasn't like the other kids. I couldn't run, I couldn't play on the equipment, I couldn't do anything. In fact, I had an aide that the school district hired to follow me around and ensure that I wasn't acting like a kid. And this aide would take her lunch on my lunch, so I would sit on a bench next to my classroom my whole entire lunch period for years, all my elementary school. So I told myself, you're limited, Nicole. You're not able to do any of this stuff. You're not allowed, you can't. You don't know how, you're not good enough. And then you won't succeed. a career counselor told me, after asking me what I wanted to do and what my goals were, I said, I want to get my associate's degree in psychology. And this counselor looked at me and said, you're not doing anything with an associate's degree in psychology. So from birth, I had all of these individuals, all of these people in, these high levels, these high professions that should know what they're talking about. So I believed it. I believed all of it, and that kept me stuck. And here I am today. This is what I'm doing. I help students figure out what they want to do, and guide them, and encourage them, and move them forward, even when they think that they can't do it themselves. And I tell you the story because these experiences shape us. And that experience alone of this counselor telling me that I wasn't going to be able to do anything, I already entered into her office terrified because nobody in my family had ever gone to college. Nobody in my family ever talked to me about college, the importance of it, what I could do with it, how it could benefit me, because they were just thankful that, oh, Nicole's alive, she survived. We're not going to push her. But they had no knowledge of it either. And I was already terrified to fail because who was going to help me? Who was going to guide me? Because my family didn't know how, even if they wanted. So, when you are faced with challenges or struggles or barriers, you have to decide what you're going to do with all of that pressure. You have to decide, just like I did. Are you going to succumb to that? You're going to just, get crushed? You're going to allow it to crush you? Or are you going to decide to become a diamond? I decided to become a diamond. And with all of that, I always carry everything that I've been faced, these struggles, these challenges, these beliefs. Because remember, I forgot to touch on it. Let's go back. Let's go back. Every cell in your body is eavesdropping on your thoughts. So if all of these negative thoughts, whether you tell yourself these thoughts or somebody else has told you these thoughts, is eroding at who you are because we're believing them. If this is eroding at our mindset, what is it doing to our body? Think about that one. So again, with all of these struggles, challenges, roadblocks, detours, I believe, and I've experienced in my own life, that there is a silver lining to all of this because it develops your character. It allows us to test our own limits and allows us to push forward and grow even further. Because what happens when you are stuck in that box, that comfort zone, there's no growth that occurs. And let me ask you this. Think about if a year from now, you were in the same exact position as you used to be. Nothing happened. No growth. You were stuck in the same spot a year later. I always tell my students, knowledge is power, but what's even more powerful? Action. And also, adding to my silver lining, empathy and connection. It allows you to connect with others on such a deeper level because you understand how struggles feel sometimes, especially if it's something similar. It allows for increased self-awareness, which is so often really hard to look inward and see what's going on inside of ourselves. Because how many of us go through struggles and we just push it down? How many of us are terrified and we have so much fear and we push it down because we don't want to deal with it? We have to look inwards. Because if we don't, all of that stuff that we've swept under the rug for so long, we think we have control of it, but really we don't. Really, we're losing complete control of it because it's going to pop up when we least expect it. And when that happens, that is an indicator that there's healing that needs to happen there. Whenever we're triggered, healing needs to occur there. And then resilience and adaptability. It creates confidence and knowing that we can overcome whatever we are faced with. Oftentimes when we come up against these walls or these detours or something keeping us from moving forward, we get frustrated. We go back into our head, oh, we can't, we're not good enough, this is why. We blame ourselves because that's the easiest to do, right? But think of it like this. Let's reframe it for a second. What if that is leading you to a spot to pause? Again, look inward. Pivot. To consider another path. Or to meet new people. Or to go through a different experience. Going back to, wanting to get my associate's degree in psychology. Yes, I majored in psychology. I wanted to be a psychologist then. But going through all of these struggles and all of these roadblocks, I pivoted so many different times, so many different directions, because I knew deep inside, I've always known and always carried with me that I survived for a reason. And if I just stayed stuck and was like, oh, I guess I'm not meant to do this because there's a roadblock here, I guess I'll just stay here, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be waking up every morning and going into a place where I am passionate about, where I can be with all of these amazing students and have these brilliant conversations. And for those of you out there that are my students or that know who I am or know of me, I want you to know one thing. For all the times that we've had an encounter or we met and you walk away thinking that you learned something from me, it's the complete opposite. Because I learn from my students each and every day something new. So you are not just students, you are teachers as well. So, I knew from a very young age that I always wanted to write a book. But I had to do a lot of self-healing. I needed to heal my worthiness wounds. I needed to dig deep within myself, especially because I wanted to go into a helping field. You guys, we have to heal ourselves before we can heal anybody else. And that is the greatest thing that we can contribute to this world, is healing ourselves. So not only was I able to heal from cancer, I healed from all of my worthiness wounds. And healing, mind you, is always going to be a journey. No one's ever done healing. It's not like, oh, I'm done healing for today, that's it. We're always here to learn and grow and experience. Because that's what shapes us. That's what propels us forward. That's what allows us to get in touch with what we are passionate about. So, I thought it was time to write my book. It took years and years and years and years. But had I not gone through what I had, and I haven't even chipped the surface surface of all the other things that came from me having cancer and surviving. But had I wrote this book a lot earlier in my life, I wouldn't have been able to share all of my experiences and lessons that I've learned, because I believe everything is a lesson for us to learn and grow from and share with others. So, June of this year, I came out with my book, The Cancer Contract, A Reimagined Path from Trauma to Triumph and Finding Your Purpose. Now, I not only wrote this book to explain my journey through healing and my experiences, I also wanted to write it with the intention of hopefully my readers being able to see their own stories in mine. And so I incorporated questions that would allow my readers to self-reflect and dig deep within themselves, journal prompts and exercises to invite them to go on their very own healing journey. Because you are not alone. I'm here every step of the way with all of you. And so you can find this on Amazon, but I also have copies to share with you guys today. So before we go into a Q&A, I have one more slide for you. Think about this. Whatever your struggles are, whatever you're going through, whatever you have been through, one day you will tell the story of how you overcame what you went through, and it will be somebody else's survival guide. Thank you, my friends.
Thank you so much, Nicole. So Nicole mentioned a Q&A, so if there's any questions from our audience, feel free to just raise your hand. I'll be right there with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. That was a wonderful presentation, very inspiring. What I want to know, I'm Dejanay, nice to see all of you. What do you do when you're feeling down and you're not sure and you kind of go back to that space before you are now? How do you get yourself back to feeling more confident and good about yourself?
Amazing question, thank you. So I sit with that feeling because our emotions are guides to tell us which way to go, like our compass. And if we're, feeling down about ourselves, I always like to sit with it and think, where is this coming from? Who told me this? Where did I hear this? Kind of investigate a little bit, right? And get to the root of it. And by the time I've done all that and I've thought about it, I find my answer and I'm at peace and I feel good about it. Whereas before, I used to run from it. I used to hide. And however you're feeling, embrace that. If you feel like crying, cry. If you feel like screaming, scream. All of these emotions are coming up to the surface because they are begging for you to release them. Otherwise, they're going to stay stuck in your body. Emotions, they not only live up here, they live in our body. So next time you're feeling down or you're feeling frustrated or upset, or you feel like something's in the way, I feel like there's a reason for everything. Here's an example. A lot of us are stuck in traffic sometimes, right? So instead of getting frustrated, and that's okay if you feel that, think about it in a different way. Reframe. Reframing is my best friend. Maybe you are stuck in traffic because it's saving you from an accident up ahead. There's always a reason, in my opinion. So next time you feel like you can't overcome something or you're upset, try to figure out the core reason of it, embrace it, acknowledge it. Here's another thing. I always equate these emotions to like a toddler. Those of you who have ever been around toddlers, they will ask questions 50 million times until you answer them right, they're not going anywhere. And that's what our emotions do too. They are demanding to be acknowledged so that they can come up to the surface and be released.
Thank you, Nicole. Any other questions?
Hello, my name is Ryan. I was wondering what it was one of your first accomplishments that you remembered after
Was that one of the first
what
ones?
accomplishments when you started realizing that you have to start doing something?
I mean, there were so many. One of the first accomplishments, that's a hard one. I mean, yeah, just going to school pretty much and continuing to go and not begging my mom to be home and stay sick and all of that. And that's a big thing. It sounds really minimal and small, but I could have decided to beg my mom, and my mom actually probably would have been like, okay. But just getting up every single day and going to school, and even though I felt so different, I still pushed through. And one of the biggest things too that I always remember, I've always had a hope. I've always held on to the hope. That is the one thing, my faith and the hope of knowing that I was here for a reason. That was my guiding light every step of the way. So while I went through all of these, really small accomplishments, they added up. So thank you.
So Nicole, I met you, anything before COVID seems like a long, long time ago, but I attended one of the workshops, the career services, and I'm not sure, but I think you gave a guest presentation to my class, one of my classes. I'm not sure, but when I first saw your, the cards, for advertising around the campus, that this was, I knew, and how did I couldn't place it. And what I remember about meeting you was that you had this just phenomenally stable, all-knowing, all-confident demeanor. And you were in career services, which is what we want our students to be able to experience, firsthand before they get out there. And so now hearing how you got to that place, it turns out that when you were going through the paces that were put on you, to only watch the behaviors, you were very perceptive, and you were able to absorb that, and then realize whenever you had your first break, like out of that contraption, or whenever you were able to improve your functioning, you had all of this, you had studied, what was taking place in front of you that you weren't able to absorb. So somehow I think that you were gifted with this ability to study the behaviors. But the question is, maybe that came from your mother. I mean, she did the best she could getting you to finally to the right doctor, but I mean, she wasn't going to just sit back, and your aunt, so there was resilience coming down the line,
Absolutely.
And I think that is part of what helps us build our motivation to move forward. But it sounds like your mother, I'm not sure about your dad, but your mother, the maternal instinct was very, very strong, and to really shows in your story. So I really, and I totally agree with you. You do have to heal yourself. I mean, I'm still doing that, recognizing, even though I know about psychology, you have to be able to, follow through. So your story just really hit a lot of nerves. It was very, very profound. I thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. And I actually dedicated my book to my mom. My mom, my aunt, and my aunt who's no longer with us, and my grandmother. They called themselves the Three Musketeers because it was always them taking me to my doctor's appointments and dealing with all of my medical stuff. And I talk about in my book, like I come from such a strong line of women. And so, like I said, I dedicated my book to her, and I had a lot of stories I wanted to tell tonight, but nerves got the best of me. So I have one more that brought up another story that I wanted to share. When I was in college, I was actually, again, I was majoring in psychology, and I went to, I had a counselor, I had a therapist that I was seeing because I was struggling with the idea of questioning myself, so much self-doubt, and I was like, how in the heck am I going to be a psychologist when I'm in counseling myself, talking to a therapist? And I asked my therapist that question, and she said, this will make you better. All of these experiences will absolutely make you better. It will help you connect to people. It will help you move forward. Regardless of the profession or the industry that you move through or that you're leaning towards, you're going to find your pocket, your people, your industry. And sometimes it takes us a while to get there. Just like I didn't become a psychologist, but I got to where I needed to be because of all of those roadblocks. So thank you for that question. That was amazing. You know what? And I'm going to come down here because I feel like I can see you guys because the lights are in my eyes. And I want to connect with you guys on this level. Do we have any other questions?
Hi. So I just have one quick question. How did your support system affect the path you chose to take throughout your life?
So I mentioned that I have this fire. I still do. It's like this fire burning inside of me. And I believe that I still would have gotten here to this point because that's what led me in my faith to move forward. But I believe it would have taken me much longer. Because no matter what I did, my mom was always so proud of me. Always, baby girl, you're amazing. Baby girl, go for it. You know what you're doing. Always encouraging me. And I don't, as a mother myself now, I have no idea where my mom got the strength from because I was so fragile, right? But my mom never treated me like I was fragile. My mom let me rollerblade. Mind you, I couldn't run on campus, but my mom's over here like, yeah, baby girl, go rollerblade. My mom let me do things that I know that I would never, ever let my son do if he was in my shoes. I would have wrapped him in bubble wrap. And so it was my mom that provided me with so much support and guidance in the best way that she knew how. And that was really all I needed. And here's another story that I forgot to share, but I'm going to share right now, so thank you. Oftentimes my mom would allow me to go and run errands with her without my brace on. And I would always ask her, Mommy, I'm not wearing my brace. Why are people still staring at me? And her response was, because you're so beautiful. And now I know why they were staring at me, because my neck was moving or going forward because of the weight of my head. But I believed her. I believed that people were staring at me because I was beautiful.
Well, you are very beautiful, Nicole.
Thank you.
We have time for 1 or 2 questions left.
So fear is a very big benefactor to risk taking. So my question is, for those who are not risk takers, what is your advice to make sure people are willing to take that risk and take that step forward, even for like healing or dreams or jobs or anything?
Wonderful question. Fear is a very, very huge and real thing in all of our lives and part of the human experience, really. And so I'm going to start out by saying everything that is worthwhile, the first thing that's going to meet you with an agenda is going to be fear. Because if it wasn't worthwhile, you wouldn't care. Fear is always going to be there at your doorstep. And you have to push forward. It's not going to be easy, but it'll be worth it. And back to my example of staying in your box. We stay in our boxes because it's comfortable and cozy and we feel safe. But guess what doesn't happen? Growth. Because we are also blanketed by our ego. Our ego is supposed to keep us safe. And when we have something new or we have a new idea or we're going to explore something different, our ego is the first thing too, along with fear. They're like BFFs. In our head, in our ear. And they're trying to get us to stay where we're at because they already know that's safe for us. Nothing's going to happen. We're not going to get eaten by a bear, right? So it wants to keep us stuck. Because when we are thinking about, I'm going to go to college, or I'm going to apply for that job that I want, or I'm going to go skydiving, fear and ego is like, we don't know what's out there. You've never done that before. Stay stuck. So yes, it's trying to keep you safe, but it's also, if you listen, it's going to keep you stuck. And you're going to stay put in the same spot. A year from now, you're going to look back and you're going to be like, man, I haven't done anything with my life. And guess who you're going to blame? It's going to be a cycle because you're going to go back to yourself. Blame yourself. And I would also encourage you, when you're in fear, when you're afraid, identify the people that can help you through that. Identify the resources. But also rely on yourself too. Because all of us, although it doesn't feel like it, hardly ever sometimes, right? We are the expert of our own life. What would have happened if I believed the career counselor? I'm not going to lie, you guys, it set me back. Because I believed her, thought she was the expert in her profession. And I thought, well, this lady's telling me this, she must know. I can't do anything. It took me about a year and a half before I moved, before I took action, before I did anything. And if I didn't, if I listened to her, she was not the expert in my life. If my family, my mom in particular, she believed the doctor, the surgeon, mind you, one of my surgeons was from Stanford. And yes, they had good intentions and they were only conveying what they knew from their knowledge. But we're in control of what we believe and how we take action and how we move through these seasons. And when you find yourself in these seasons, and you find yourself in these spaces where you feel that you are completely out of control, I want you in that moment to dig deep. I want you to reframe it. What's the worst that can happen? And in my book, there is a section on fearing the fail and thinking about how you can get around that. What is the worst that can happen and how is that going to benefit other people? I use the example of I am actually terrified of being book, I go through like what's the worst that can happen and how can my audience benefit. If I slur my words or I mess up or I look silly, guess what that's doing to my audience? It's making me relatable and they're being able to relate with me and alleviating their own fear because maybe we share the same fear. If they see me being goofy and doing my thing and not caring and just doing it anyways, maybe that's going to motivate them and inspire them. Hey, if Nicole's doing it, she doesn't care that she's messing up, I'm going to do it too. So think about different ways that you can reframe it. Also, consider, back to my example of looking back, a year from now. Consider the fact that there may be regret. Because that happens too. Or guilt. Or other types of emotions, which yes, they're okay to feel, and they happen and they need to be addressed. But you have a lot to lose if you don't move forward. We only have one life, you guys, one life. And if we are not taking action because of fear, is that worth it? When we are old and gray and on our deathbed, we're going to be thinking about those moments when we were too afraid to move and wish that we had that opportunity again. So wake up every day and do it scared. Remember, identify those people that are on your side, those people in your corner. And if it's hard to think about those people right now, if you're not sure if you have any, guess what? You got one. I'm here with you guys every step of the way. Any other questions? Yes.
It's a little off topic.
It's okay. I like off topic.
I love your tattoo, and I feel like it probably has an important meaning. I was wondering.
Yes. So, I am the person that needs to have meaning and find meaning in everything, but this was a little bit out of my comfort zone, that's perfectly on topic. So, but I have to sprinkle a little bit of meaning in there, and everybody asked me like, oh, what does the time mean? And so there's a clock, and I wanted to either have a compass or a clock, and I decided on a clock. And I let my tattoo artist think of the time. There's no significance other than the preciousness of time that we can't squander. We get so caught up and stuck on, oh, money, money, money. That's a big thing of, in society, but we can always get money back. Can we get time back? Never. So that kind of goes into your question too. You can never get time back. So take advantage. Every opportunity that you have, we have to take advantage of that. Yes, sir.
Hello, Nicole and everyone. So as students, it is sometimes really hard to find ourselves positive, especially after a test. So I wanted to know, what are some strategies that you can suggest to stay positive in a very challenging situation that us and everybody around us are not positive?
Absolutely. And so I want to point out too that you don't always have to be positive. If you're feeling like you're in a funk, embrace it. It's okay. Because if you're trying to be like, oh, I'm really happy, got a smile on my face, but you're feeling like crap inside, you can't ignore it. Embrace it. And reframe. And use gratitude. And I know firsthand, you guys, when we are in a funky mood, if we're upset at the world and everything just keeps going wrong, it's really hard to find anything that we are grateful for. But even if it's the fact that you have a door in your room that you can close for privacy, that is enough. Look for anything to be grateful for, because slowly that's going to shift your mood. There's so many benefits to that. I talk about it in my book because I'm a little bit woo-woo and I like it that way. But there's so many exercises, ways to kind of reframe things. And from an early age, we are programmed with certain things in society and the way, we've grown up. We haven't, all of us, not all of us have grown up in an environment that has been nurturing. And when you're feeling like you're in a funk or you're feeling like you can't move through something, also pay attention to the dialogue in your head, what you're telling yourself. Almost like taking inventory. And one thing that I learned too, moving through all of these challenges, is that it wasn't for nothing. It was for everything. Everything. And had I gotten the opportunity to do it all over again differently, I would never. I see the fact that I had cancer as a gift, because I wouldn't be who I am today without it. I would have been a completely different person. I probably wouldn't have the amount of empathy or insight or connection that I can make with people. I wouldn't have any of it. So whenever you're in those moments, think about, what is this teaching me? What am I supposed to learn from this? I talk about in my book an example where I thought I was totally done healing from a situation, thought I was good to go, and it had to do with a relationship, right? And I had, just broken up with my fiance at the time, and then my friend had asked me to be at her wedding. That was a year later, and I'm like, oh, I'm good, like I'm totally healed. And then like a ton of bricks the day before her wedding, all of these feelings that I thought that I healed kept surfacing. But I didn't know that that's what it was, because it looked differently. It looked like being stuck in traffic. It looked like my hair appointment being rescheduled. It looked like my nails not, turning out the way that I wanted. It looked like the ATM being broken. That's when you have to dissect what is really going on here. Yes, it looks like everything is going wrong, but there's a lesson in it. And then I realized, and this is like the craziest thing ever. I realized because when the ATM, that was the last thing that happened, when the ATM was broken and I was late to the rehearsal dinner, I went in to talk to the teller and I was in a mood. I was like so irritated. And this very young teller, he asked me how my day was, and I was like everything was going wrong, right? And in his innocence, there was so much wisdom, and he said maybe it was trying to teach you something, which that's the way I think, but it took a complete stranger bringing it to my attention to be like, everything just magically started unfolding, and I was like, that's it, that's the reason. So going back to your question, think about what is the lesson underneath all of this. And I almost guarantee if you're looking for it, you will find it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Let's give it up again for Nicole.